Can you hear now? Oh, much better. Again, thank you for coming out. It's a beautiful night, even though it's cold and windy. This is our second annual public safety forum that we do for the South region here. We have both the honorable mayors of Orland Park and Tinley Park, as well as our two police chiefs from Orland Park and Tinley Park as well, and we'll get to them in a minute. We've posted this up. We've got questions that have come into us through email. If you come up with any questions this evening in the interim, you're welcome to scan a code in a minute. There you go right there. You can scan that and send your question, or there are pads of paper and pens in the back. By the way, you're welcome to grab one of those if you want to get and take any notes or anything. Handouts, we have some safety tips from the sheriff on how to protect yourself during the holiday season. In addition to that, there's information for the county for all the services that are afforded through the county. And then when we're done, there will be refreshments served out there in the lobby at the conclusion of our event. Without that, I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank our mayors and our police chiefs for the invitation to come and see that this year. By way of introduction, although I'm sure you already know them, we have the Honorable Keith Pekow, Mayor of Orland Park. Keith. Honorable Michael Glotz, Mayor of Tinley Park. We have Orland Park Police Chief Eric Rossi, and we have Orland Park Police Chief Thomas Tilton. So that's our crew for tonight, and they're here to answer questions. We have some that have already come in. We will go through a few of those. We will allow each of them to respond, both the mayors and the police chiefs. And then we will go to the questions that have been sent in from the general public and or any that pop into your heads this evening. Without that, will the codes come up there, or should I just use my thing there? Okay. This one will go out to Mayor Pekow and Mayor Glotz. Can you please provide an overview of crime rates in the region and any trends you have observed? What strategies are in place to address these trends?
So first off, I guess I'll start by just thanking everyone for coming here. Show of hands, how many are from Tinley Park? How many of you from Orland Park? Tinley Park? Okay, and the rest of you from Orland, that's great. I know our Orland Park crowd's a little less because they're over at bingo. But I want to thank Mayor Glotz and both chiefs for being here tonight, and for all of you for coming, and for our staff for being here as well. I've got a few trustees that have come as well, so thank you all for doing that. Regional crime rates, I think we all know Cook County is a bit of a mess, has been for some time. But I think, I can speak specifically to Orland, and I'm sure Mayor Glotz can speak to Tinley. The last 6 years, we've been tracking index crimes the same way for 31 years now, I believe, and the last 6 years are the lowest 6 crime years of all 31. So we've been doing extremely well in spite of what's happening nationally and in Cook County. If you look this year to date, we have numbers of October to date, and essentially they're tracking just like 2023 for the most part. A little bit. There's thefts are about the same. Drug crime arrests are down, and violent crime rates are really low. There was a study last year of last year's crime stats, the largest 360 suburbs in the country, and we were number 2 as far as lowest property crime rate, and we were number 5 lowest violent crime. That's out of the biggest 360 suburbs in the U.S. So Orland Park's doing really well, and I know Tinley Park's also doing well, but I'll turn it over to Mayor Glotz and ask him to give an overview of Tinley.
Thank you, Mayor. Not used to the button.
Yeah, me either. I leave it on all meeting.
Thank you, Mayor Pekow. And first of all, I want to thank our clerk, Nancy O'Connor, that came to this as well, our staff, Carolyn Matera, our assistant village manager, Hannah Littman, and our village manager, Pat Carr, and our police chief, Tom Tilton. So from the Tinley Park perspective, we've seen very small increases and decreases in specific criminal activity over the past year. We experienced a rare and tragic multiple homicide in 2024, which I think everyone's aware of. But sexual assaults have decreased a little bit. Robbery remained the same at 10, as did aggravated battery assaults at 18. We did unfortunately have an increase in burglaries over the past year and an increase in the theft in general. My opinion, this is mostly caused by the leadership of Kim Fox and the Cook County State's Attorney, because they don't hold anyone accountable. And it's been very difficult for all the South Suburban mayors, the police chiefs, to do their jobs when the Kim Fox isn't holding them responsible. We retain someone for committing a crime, and then they release them. And then they love the catch and release. The threshold used to be 500. Kim Fox raised it to 1,000. And so that's what migrated the crime from the east more to the west. When they double the threshold from 500 to 1,000, it makes it a lot easier to commit a crime for $700, $800, and there's no recourse whatsoever. I believe that with the leadership of Eileen O'Neill Burke, these numbers are going to dramatically decrease. I've had conversations with her and her staff, and they are hopefully going to switch the history that we've had to deal with in Orland and Tinley Park, which will make the board, the village, and our police department's job a lot easier. There's been an incredible decrease in motor vehicle thefts and arson. The Tinley Park Police Department made 33 more arrests than last year. More significantly, we have received 20,000 more calls for services to date than we did this time last year. This attributes to the special attention requests for businesses who want higher police visibility and presence to safeguard their facilities, merchandise, and of course, their customers. Sadly, a large number of these calls for service also include providing a protective presence at all our local schools online, for online threats and incidents related to adverse interactions, which are the Village Board of Orland Park and Tinley Park and the police chiefs have done an excellent job with the village managers with all the SRO programs that work inside our schools to keep our kids safe. And unfortunately, it comes at a cost, but everyone in this board, in this room agrees you can't put a price on our children. So our village managers and our boards and our police chiefs have worked very closely with all our schools for the resource officers, and we've seen a huge change with doing that. So I want to thank our chief and our staff and Orland Park too for, it's nice when someone has the same belief. So thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mayor Pekow, for supporting that same initiative of the SROs.
Thank you, Mayors. Now for the police chiefs. Chief Rossi and Chief Tilton, with the holiday season in full swing, what measures are in place to ensure local shoppers and visitors can do so without putting their safety at risk? And do you have any safety tips that you can add to that? Chief Tilton, you want to start? Yeah.
Okay, so of course we want our residents to have the safest holiday shopping experience. So always we're adding additional personnel and giving our special attention to our shopping areas, and our street crime suppression unit is going to be there to saturate those areas and make sure that where you are and where you're attempting to do your Christmas shopping. We've got, and as far as tips go, first of all, I want to direct everyone that's watching, at least the Tinley Park residents, to go to tinleypark.org/crime prevention, where you can find all of our crime prevention tips. You can print them out, you can have them with you. I encourage you to go over them because we have a lot of them. And I won't bore you with reading the whole thing to you, but Christmas and holiday shopping comes down to self-awareness. And by that self-awareness, we mean being aware of your surroundings and not making yourself a target for thieves. You want to see where you're at, who's around you, what your path is to your car, what your path is to the store. How can you get safely from the entrance to the store you're going to out into the parking lot with your merchandise, your packages, and your wallet? So it all comes down to self-awareness, and it comes down to how educated you are and not putting yourself in a situation to be the victim of a crime. And here's just a few tips, and then I'll turn it over to my counterpart, Chief Rossi. We encourage you to shop with a friend. We encourage you to pay attention to who's around you, like I said. We want to make sure that you're not overloading your arms with packages and bags so you can defend yourself or push yourself away and get away. We want to make sure that you have clear visibility and freedom of movement. We want to make sure that you pick your parking spot wisely. You want to park in well-lit areas. And if you own a small car, Try not to park next to a large vehicle so people can't see you when you're leaving the store and going outside. All the things that make you vulnerable make you an easy target. And unfortunately, people that don't have your best interests at heart are aware of these tactics as well, and they're looking for people who haven't made that contribution to their own safety. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Rossi.
Thank you, Chief. First, I want to say thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate you coming here and listening to us and getting some information on Tinley Park and Orland Park. So with the holiday season, so I've been doing this job. I've been in law enforcement for over 21 years. I've been through this holiday season. I've worked every aspect of the police department, and I take pride in keeping Orland Park safe. And we meet weekly with Orland Square Mall personnel. Every Thursday, we have a meeting to go over staffing, their staffing inside the mall, our staffing, from pretty much Thanksgiving through the new year. We have extra officers on the street at our retail centers, conducting traffic details on LaGrange Road, major thoroughfares through Orland Park. Not just the retail centers, because we want the criminals, the people who are out here committing crimes, they want them to know that the Orland Park police are out here. We want them to know that they cannot commit crimes here. And I will give hats off to my detective division. If you commit a crime in Orland Park, you are going to get caught, hands down. My detective division, and Chief, I know yours too, the best investigators in the state of Illinois. I would put these guys and gals up against anybody. So don't come to Orland Park and commit crimes. On the day after Thanksgiving, we know it's a big shopping day. We had 20 extra officers on the street. From then until through Christmas and the New Year, there's probably an average of 10 extra officers on the street trying to keep everybody safe. We have our plainclothes officers. They're inside the mall. They're on the street. You won't know they're there. They're inside the residential subdivisions. If we see trends going on, such as package thefts, that's something that they focus on. We stay proactive here in Orland Park to reduce any type of crime that may be occurring in the south suburbs.
Commissioner Morrison, if you don't mind, I'll add a couple of things. So Chief just talked about arrests and how well we do investigating, and I know Tinley is the same way, but to put it in perspective, in the last 2 years, January through October, we've had 37 violent crimes over 2 years in Orland Park, which, just to put it in perspective, is the lowest in the state for towns over 50,000, the lowest rate in the state. But we've had, 38 crimes, but 37 arrests. So we catch them, which is what's critical. The mall, Orland Square Mall, since I've been here, it's the safest mall in the Chicagoland area. We have a group that tracks it nationwide, and we're about half the average crime rate of malls throughout the country. And that's and about 3/4 within a 6-mile radius, which includes a lot of Tinley Park shopping areas and our shopping areas. So the region is very, very safe in that regard. The other thing I would say is our mall, I know if you're feeling uncomfortable, either an officer or a security person will walk out and escort you out if you ask. And the last thing I would say is the same thing I tell my kids, something I learned when I was in the Air Force. If the hair's standing up on the back of your neck and your instinct's saying something's not right, you have instincts. We have instincts going back thousands of years, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of years for a reason. Your instincts are telling you something's wrong. Something's probably wrong. Trust it. Go back inside. Get someone to come out with you. So that's probably the most important thing. And oh, by the way, if you're just being a little nervous, oh well, you're still safe.
Mayor, thank you. This next question is going to go to you as well as Chief Rossi. How are we as a region staying up to date on the new and emerging technologies that actually benefit public safety in general?
Well, I'll let the chief talk about all the new technology we have. I think from the board's perspective, we support the chief and his efforts. And then I'll just fill in anything else that I know of that's going on.
So in 2023, I was at a convention for Simon Security, and they had a vendor there called Fusus. And what Fusus is, it's a real-time crime center. It's one platform where you can incorporate cameras from private and retail establishments on one platform. And what it does is it enhances crime prevention. Officers can get information, real-time information if they're responding to a scene. We worked with Orland Square Mall. They are on Fusus, so we have access to all their cameras. We worked with District 230, District 135, and most recently District 140 to have those in our schools. So if there's an incident at a school, our officers know that instead of, if there's an incident in the back of the school, our officers aren't going in through the front door. They're going to respond to the location of where it's occurring. Time is what saves people, and we want to get there fast, and we want to have real information. We have one of the best cell phone and computer forensic divisions in the state of Illinois. We send our detectives down to Alabama, and they train with the Secret Service. So there's constantly training going on with that. We have 6 drones. We are working on a drone for first responders technology. This is something new that I had looked into most recently, probably within a month or two, and I have a short video. What this is a call comes out at, say, your residence, and it may take the officer 2 to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to get there. What this would do is a drone would go up in the air, fly to the location of the incident, and get real-time information of what's occurring. So if there's a burglary going on before the officers get there, the drone is there getting real information. It's a live feed. It goes back to our dispatch center. They'd be able to provide that information to our officers. This, just like Fusus, in my mind, is the next generation. It's not surveillance. It's only a first responder getting real-time information on scene as it's occurring for officer safety and to keep the public safe. So if you would, go ahead and play the video. This is out of California.
What you're going to see with the Drone as a First Responder program is a resource that responds to anywhere in our city at any time at a quicker pace than we would traditionally have done.
The drone operator can physically hear the live 911 call coming into the real-time center and dispatch the drone to that location before the dispatcher has actually created the call. We were able to achieve 360-degree coverage with DFR with 3 locations. So we have one central location, one on the east side, and one on the west side. And that provides 100% of our community members an opportunity to have the drone as a first responder benefit them.
This will allow us to respond in less than 3 minutes on average anywhere in our community in the city of Elk Grove. The Drone as a First Responder will allow our fire partners to see the scene as much as it would allow us in law enforcement to see a scene when responding. Our fire partners will now be able to determine what resources are going to be needed so that they know that those resources will be freed up for other calls if they receive them at the same time. It's a tool that we'll be able to utilize across the public safety sector in the entire city of Elk Grove, which includes all of our first responders, law enforcement, and our fire department.
DFR today at most agencies is somebody physically on top of a roof, deploying a drone, watching where it's going, ensuring that the airspace is safe. The way we're deploying this is having docks on the roof that swap out the battery of the drone so the human doesn't have to swap out the battery. The officer can be down on the street in a patrol car, not up on a rooftop. And then they can also utilize the technology to get to these locations without having to observe the drone at all times, because the radar will tell us if there's any intrusion aircraft, any birds in the way, has to make any sort of maneuvers to avoid a collision. That's what's changed.
The drone is not used as a patrol function. It is not doing any sort of aerial surveillance in our neighborhoods. It will be very specific to a call for service. It will respond from a fixed location directly to those areas where it needs to be utilized, and that's where we'll use it. One of the many things that I thought about was the impact on community. There are times when law enforcement responds to a particular neighborhood or community where, to be quite honest, there has been conflict in the past. And in those communities, some people are concerned about the contacts that they have with law enforcement. It's just another tool that the DFR program will allow for us to create opportunities of positive contacts, not ones that can have a long or adverse effect in our community. Having Measure E pass has really provided us an opportunity to expand the Drone as a First Responder program. It's going to be a tool that'll continually grow, and it will truly allow us to provide a service to this community that we have never seen before. And that's truly utilizing the technology, the tools that we've been given as a result of Measure E and support from our community and our city, to be the best in public safety that we can be in the city of Elk Grove.
We're constantly looking at technology, and this is something that in the
Should my
future-
agency fly under Part 1?
This is something in the future that I would hope would integrate with our CAD system to where we get a lat and longitude on a call for service, and the drone automatically goes up and flies right to that call for service. We wouldn't have to have a person actually flying it. So just, again, we're always looking at new technology and how we can keep the public safer, and this is just one of the things. So I'll turn it over to Chief Tilton or Chief
I guess
Mayor.
the one thing, or a couple things that I would add is, one is we're investing in a firing range, which many people in Orland Park know. So the firing range we had before was kind of outside into a hill, not exactly the best. This firing range will actually have doors where we can bring in vehicles. We can work on things that we deal with a lot, like at the mall where we're blocking in a vehicle, work on things like that. It also is going to have some state-of-the-art simulators that we can use. So all to get our folks the best training as well. And sometimes we talk about new technology, but it's not just technology, it's also new ideas. So the mobile response unit that we have, that I think we rolled out with Tinley Park and 4 other communities as well, we were the test bed for that, and we saw committals, mental health, because we all know we deal with a lot of mental health situations, and we actually had committals, and only the police can commit somebody involuntarily, but we had those involuntary committals reduced by 35% by doing that, which there's 2 things to that. One is our officers are back out on the street. Second, we can call, so what this does is we have people on staff or people that we can call 24/7 to come out and take control of the scene if it's nonviolent that are not our officers. So instead of them having to deal with this problem, they're back out on the street policing, and this person is getting the help they need, because for most of those people that are having these mental health issues, it's the worst day of their life. And the last thing they need to do is be in the criminal justice system when they really need mental health help. And so it's allowed us to reduce committals by 35%, free up a lot of our resources. That, typical for the federal government, it was a program that worked great, and then they stopped funding it. So we found other funding that goes for like 5 years. So it's been very helpful for us. I'm sure it's been likewise helpful for our neighboring communities as well. And then the youth supervision program that they put in the mall. Chief McCarthy way back asked me to try and work on that with a relationship with the mall. And it's been in now almost 3 years. And they put it in on Fridays and Saturdays, 3 o'clock on. Those were the 2 highest crime days of the week. And I think we've had less than 5 thefts in 3 years during those youth supervision. 3 years, 5 thefts. And they were the highest crime of the week in the mall. So it's been very, very, very successful. The mall was skeptical. It's the first place they've ever done it. Now they've rolled out in other places, and it's had a huge, huge impact on the mall. Families feel better about it. The vendors all in there, all the leasing and tenants, they all love it. It's something that everyone there loves. So it's been very, very successful, and they've used it elsewhere. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Next question is for Chief Tilton and Mayor Glantz. How can the retailers collaborate with local law enforcement to enhance safety and security within their establishments?
Well, first I'd like to say that Tinley Park also employs the FUSA system that Chief Rossi describes. And one of the ways that our retailers and our businesses can help us help you as business people, is to go to Connect Tinley Park, which is our camera registration website, and you as a business owner, you as a retail owner, you as a merchant, can sign up to be part of our camera integration program. You can sign up to be part of FUSIS. Let us know that you have a camera, you have surveillance cameras at your business, and you're willing to share that with the department. Or let our detectives know that you have a camera, so that if something happens, they can know to go there and see what you have on the camera that we can use as evidence. So those are a lot of things that you can do right off the bat. Also, as a business owner, much like we talk about tips, and we talked about safety tips for shoppers, it's also important to be self-aware of your business and how to secure that, right? A lot of the things that we see in terms of organized retail theft are when people go in the stores, run out with an armload of coats, throw them in the car and take off. So you want to move those, as a business owner, you want to move those racks further into the store. You want to make it more difficult and take more time for someone to rob you. You want to keep as little cash as possible. You want to make your bank deposits more frequently. You want to make sure that you safely secure your safe in a highly visible and well-lit location. You want to make it difficult and cause people to waste time while they're trying to rob you as a merchant. The longer you make them delay, the longer they waste time, their internal clock speeds up and they want to flee. It also makes it easier for us to respond and have a better chance of taking anybody into custody. We want to make sure that you keep the entrances to your businesses well lit. We want to make sure they're not obscured. We want to make sure that if somebody does get in, we don't make it too easy for them to take items out. You want to bolt the racks to the floor because they're just grabbing racks and running out with them. These are little things that you can do. And once again, I can't tell you how important it is if you, as a merchant, that if you want to collaborate with us, to make it easy for you to share your information. That's the biggest thing that we ask of our merchants, our business people. Do what you can to share information with us so that, as Chief Rossi was saying, when we're responding in real time and we can see your store or the interior of your store in the FUSA system, we know where to go. It's the same thing with school safety. If we don't have to look for somebody, we already know where you are when we get there. It makes it much easier and much more efficient and quite faster for us to respond. Mayor?
Thank you, Chief. Just want to add something to the technology part. Our village manager, Pat Carr, also retired U.S. Air Force. Very important to him has been the helipad. And he worked really hard to get funding to pay for that helipad, which is a 24-hour regional public safety, for the whole region. And so thank you, Pat, for that. Once that's up and running, that will be huge for the region too, having that helipad that no one has. Also, for the retailers, we tell them to be observant, right? You need a good description for when the police officers come into a store if something happens. They need a good description for them to help go get them quickly and find them, hopefully before they leave. Sometimes our cameras will pick them up, the LPRs. So a lot of times the police will know when they come into the area before they even hit a store. And so just the more information you can give and just being observant helps them dramatically. Because sometimes police officer on the call, they actually passed a car that kind of looks like it, and then they get a report from dispatch. It's a lot easier for them to go after them. Everything like their height, their weight, their age, their complexion, their color of hair. Do they have glasses on? Color of their eyes? All of that is important for our police in Tinley and Orland Park to help. Scars. Do they have any type of tattoos or facial markings or something? All that is extremely important. Obviously the clothing. What kind of coat are they wearing? Are they wearing a Bears coat? Are they wearing a Packers coat? What are they wearing? The vehicle, the make, the model. And most importantly, did they have a weapon? What kind of weapon? How many people were in the car? All that comes into play. And just being cautious. If they're working alone in stores, we try to tell them, leave a radio on so it sounds like there's other noise. So you can't tell if there's other people in the room. Like before the meeting started, we were standing there and I was asking, what's that noise behind that door? I thought that was, I thought it was like a storage unit. I think they said that was the finance or something. So just hearing other noises, sometimes that will deter, and like Chief Tilton said, the lighting. If you keep it lit, burglars do not like lit places. If you drive by my house, it's lit. On the front of the house alone, I have 5 cameras. I have 2 Ring doorbells. I have them from my shed facing the back of the house. I have them on the side of the house, on the back corners. Light it up, and if you have cameras, sign up with the Orland Park and Tinley Park Police. So if something does happen, they can immediately go see the cameras. So as they're calling as dispatch is calling the police officers, they're already uploading it, sending to Chief Tilton and Rossi's patrol on the street as they're rolling up to your house. They're already seeing on their screen, potentially the car or that was around your house. It's very important to sign up for that. And most importantly, so everyone knows, there's conception. Tinley Park and Orland Park Police will not and does not look at any cameras unless something happens. It's not like it's a free-for-all and they can look at the cameras. That is for your safety only, so that our dispatchers in Orland and Tinley Park can get the patrol the most information they have. Because when it happens, and there's obviously something that bad that happens, you're seeing patrol are coming from all different zones. And so they may catch them coming from the east or the west or the north and south. So every bit of information makes it easier. And there's a lot of people that have no idea how many cars in Orland Park and Tinley Park that are unmarked that are driving around. So it makes it that much easier with our crime suppression unit and their TAC unit. A lot of people don't know if they're police or not, and there's a reason for that. So especially for when things go bad, that information could be the difference on catching them or saving a life. So it just, pay attention, but don't approach anyone. Get the information, keep it in your head. If you can, write it down so you can give a good description to the police officer when they come to take your information. Absolutely.
I'd just like to add one thing. We're talking about camera sharing and camera integration. And Mayor Glotz made a really good point, and I think Mayor Picau and Chief Rossi did as well. We really want you to understand, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about these camera sharing programs. You're sharing your video or agreeing to share your video at your discretion. We do not look at your cameras. We cannot look at your cameras unless you allow it and allow us to see what you want us to see. So I really want to make sure that we take the time to explain to people that this is a discretionary program that you as a resident choose to participate in, and it's your discretion. So there are not police officers looking into your house or looking through your Ring cameras. That's not what happens, and I just want to correct a lot of things that we've seen on social media. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Sure, Mayor.
And also the part of your, the retail and just the residents keeping it safe too. You know, you could say from personal experience, you know, we were stuck with a mess when a lot of us came into office. And through our staff, our board, and our village managers and you know, our police department, there's been more hiring of police officers in this region than there's ever been before over the last 8 years. You know, Pat and Hannah, you guys have the numbers. The number of people that we've hired for Tinley Park, and I know Orland Park has been the same, if not more, because of their size as well, has been astronomical to keep our residents safe. It comes at a cost, right? You know, average police officer, car, insurance, Benny's is like $250,000. But the one thing I could say is our chiefs and the village managers and both boards have never even questioned that when it comes to our safety, because you can't put a price on losing a loved one. And that's the one thing I love about the collaboration between our two communities, and especially our chiefs and our village managers. 159th Street over the last, at least especially since I took over as mayor in 21, working with Mayor Picau and our chiefs, has never been safer. They put a team together when they were going after all the car dealerships. They stopped that immediately, of the amount of people that were put out there between our chiefs of the police that no one knew, and they worked together as a team. So, you know, I wanna thank Chief Rossi and Chief Tilton and the Orland Park Board over to the left, our clerk, Mayor Picau, and how well they've worked together to keep our region safe. It's not just about Tinley Park or Orland Park. And there's been plenty of times if something's happened somewhere in Tinley Park, you know, when we had an unfortunate situation with the homicide, the first call I received was from Mayor Picau when he called. I apologize for what happened in our community, and if you guys need any help, we're here to help. Just let me know, and I'll call Chief Rossi, and we'll be there to help. And the same thing is when there's been something in Orland Park, we send our police or sergeants over there to help as well. So that's one thing I love about, you know, it takes a village, right? And I think together, we've worked really well, and the staff and board have made a huge difference. So thank you to all of you.
And I'd like to add a couple of things here. And I realize I might be cutting off some questions that you have, but some of the things that we do proactively with businesses, one of the things that we had was if you have a liquor license, for example, you're required to cooperate with our police. If you don't, we will ticket you. So we had that situation. We had a Walgreens that basically, there was $1,000 worth of stuff stolen. We got there, we could have caught them. They refused to sign a complaint because it was corporate policy. And this was a previous chief, but we were both very upset, and I said, go ticket them for conduct unbecoming a licensee and send them to me directly, to the liquor commissioner. Well, I suspended their liquor license and fined them a bunch of money, and now they sign complaints. So we learned from that, and we put it with all of our business licenses require that businesses cooperate with us. So we want them to sign, because we want them to sign the complaints, because businesses that allow theft without doing anything about it invite thieves to our towns and to our neighboring towns. So that's why we do that. And it's been very successful, because we had a couple businesses, large businesses, that had that corporate policy. Well, we fined them a couple times, and guess what? Now they sign complaints, and voila, their theft went way down. What a shocker. Just common sense. Lighting, very important. We talked about that. We actually worked with the mall. Macy's in particular was not upgrading their lighting, and it's an area that was pretty dark and people complained about. So we actually split the cost with the mall to upgrade their lighting, to make that area safer. So as far as your house, I find a German Shepherd works really well. People don't like to come in, even if they'll lick you to death. To the mayor's point, he talked earlier about Kim Fox. We all know her policies were difficult. For me, she took office 5 months before I took office, or 4 months before I took office. And we were already seeing a spike in violent crime. And so we had to change our tactics and become much more proactive. So I would say the last 8 years, we're much more proactive than we were prior to that. And it's not, and believe me, as many differences as I may have with previous board and previous board members, all of our boards have supported our police, which is why we have a great department. But the need for proactive policing became so much more with what was going on at the Cook County level, and the cooperation on 159th, all of those things have had a huge impact on. That's why the numbers are so low. Even in an environment where there's so much crime pressure, the numbers are low because we are much more proactive than we were 10 or 15 years ago.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could elaborate a little bit, listening to the questions and the comments, there's even more to that. I mean, the public safety elements, transfer into our schools through the resource personnel. We have some of the safest, look, first of all, let me just say this. We're all blessed to live in the southwest suburbs. Between Tinley and Orland, they're two of the largest suburbs. We've lived here for a while. We've all seen the massive growth that's taken place economically. Both villages are in a very strong position. That did not happen by chance. It's really grown in the last 8 years. But even though we've had this enormous growth and robust expansion, our crime has gone down. You put on Channel 9 News and you see about shootings and you see about crime and you think, and you know what, for the region, that is true. But we're blessed here in the southwest suburbs. I pulled a little data knowing I was going to come here, and I just want to give you a few things for 17th District, and the majority of that is down here in the Southland. Our retail theft recovery rates, we're the number one ranked in the county. We have a 67% recovery rate. Weapons use, we have an 87% recovery rate. Aggravated DUIs, a 95%. Theft in general, 94% recovery rate, and burglary, 92%. So when they started out by saying that if you make a crime around here, there's a really good chance you're going to get caught, they're not wrong, and the stats bear that out. They really deserve to have that accolades. And again, I think from my opinion, part of the reason why we flourish here from a public safety side, as well as opportunity growth for our communities is because of the work of the mayors and the trustees, because they're the ones that put these things together and make sure that it goes. The police chiefs here, they're so important because they're the ones, they start the whole mindset out for their forces. They make sure every day that their policies and their agendas are being carried out, and that's why it's there. They alluded to the idea of collaboration, and that's where I'd like to move my next set of questioning to, and then after that we will open up to the public. But can you provide information about the different agencies and how you all work together to enhance the local and regional public safety efforts?
Yeah, I'm sure Chief Rossi can jump on this a little bit more, but we have some great relationships with the FBI, the DEA, and as well as there's a lot of task force that we have where we all commit resources in the region, not just Tinley Park and Orland Park, but others as well, whether it's SWAT or major crimes. if there's a shooting in either town or a murder in either town, which is a rarity, right? It's all over the news, and it's like, oh, it's not safe here. Those are pretty random events, and usually they're domestic related, or completely random, and it just so happened that it happened here. But the amount of resources that come in to help, and everybody remember the riots of June of 2020? We had a tip that that Antifa was going to hit our mall, okay? There were 85 officers inside our mall, and they were from the Cook County Sheriff's, they were from Tinley Park, they were from Palos, they were from Orland. We had that many officers inside the mall ready if they showed up. I mean, so that's the kind of cooperation that we get from other communities. So we get a lot of it, and I'm sure the chiefs can add even more, and the mayor can add more.
So I'll just start out by saying we have a great relationship with every agency around here, whether it's Tinley Park, Palos Heights, Palos Hills, New Lenox, Frankfurt, Matson, Midlothian, you name it. We know somebody there. We can pick up the phone, call them. We have a great relationship we have somebody task forced out to the ATL, to the DEA. We have an officer that works with the FBI. We have a Secret Service agent that has a desk in our police department and Tinley's police department. We work together, as mentioned before, we have saturation details that Tinley and Orland work together on 159th Street when we see a trend of cars being stolen from the car dealerships. Our tactical response unit, along with Tinley's, work together. They're constantly talking to each other weekly, daily. Our detectives talk to each other. We're both part of the Southwest Major Crime Unit. What that is that's 20 jurisdictions around here that all touch each other. And if there's a major incident that goes on, burglaries, robberies, we all get 1 or 2 detectives, and they all work that case together for 2 or 3 days. We're part of the South Suburban Major Crimes Task Force. They investigate homicides, kidnappings. The relationship that we have with other departments between them and the South Suburban Emergency Response Team. Chief Tilton's on the board. I'm on the board for the South Suburban Major Crimes Task Force. So we have a great relationship with numerous agencies throughout not only the state of Illinois, but I would say throughout the United States.
And then I'll turn it over to you. I got one other little thing to add. You talk about the riots. And, Mayor Glatz wasn't mayor yet, but I was in our department when that was coming our way. And I was there all night long. And I've been in the military. I was watching what was going on. I was observing. I wasn't getting in anyone's way. What I realized my help was when the press called, I dealt with it. Let the chief and everybody else handle everything else. But the number of phone calls and radio calls that were coming from Mokina and Midlothian, hey, there's a group of 6 cars coming your way, talking from community to community to community to hand them off so that we didn't just chase them out of our town. They got chased out of the region, so they didn't park themselves anywhere to steal stuff. Was incredible, the amount of coordination. So it happens all the time.
I'll go first, Chief, if that's all right. Like Chief Rossi and Mayor Peacock said, collaboration is what makes everything, and working together with people, which we all do a great job with. Our music in the plazas, our Rib Fest, we have our concerts as well, like they do. Last year, you went to our Rib Fest, there was times we had over 60, 70 people, police officers that were there, plain clothing. We had hired P4 security. A lot of people didn't know that they were security. We're very blessed to work with a lot of good people and have help when you need it, right? And so it wasn't a Village of Tinley Park event. There was an event a couple of years ago with the carnival. Things broke bad, and Orland Park was there immediately, Mokina, Frankfurt, and that's what's great about our south suburbs. They've worked very well together. And when it comes to safety, there's no questions. Everyone's there to always help each other. And that's, unfortunately, I think I was 1,500 miles away when the carnival thing happened. But since then, we adapted. It wasn't our event. We put up the fencing. We load the place with security. Unfortunately, it's a huge cost to to run these events. And we have to put a small entrance fee. But I'd say, most of the people are happy to pay a small entrance fee to make sure they can go there with their families and it's safe. It's sad. I hate going there and seeing the fences. I hate going and seeing people, your neighbors, your friends walking through metal detectors. Unfortunately, it has to. Because of those metal detectors and P4 security and our chief and their safety plan, I mean, the one event, you guys confiscated, I think, like over 90 or 100 knives or something that people are trying to walk in. And then, when people are trying to walk in because they have a conceal and carry, they see the metal detectors, you see them, they turn around, they go to their car, they lock it up, and then they come back in. Not that they meant harm, it's just they're just used to carrying it now because they're conceal and carry. So they've done a great job. And most important, a lot of it has to deal with, we're very blessed. When I got on as a trustee, the former mayor, they hired a police chief. Unfortunately, he had a different philosophy than what we wanted for safety. He was more laid back, wasn't hands-on. I actually hardly even seen him. And we went out and got Chief Tilton, 26 years with the Secret Service, as Chief Rossi's talking about Secret Service and having a desk at each place. The training from the Secret Service is second to none. 26 years. I love talking about it. I don't know if he gets embarrassed, but I'll say it every time I speak. Served under 4 United States presidents, President Clinton, President Bush, President Reagan, and also President-elect Obama. He had to secure all of Hyde Park when they knew he was going to be the president. So the amount of training and the certificates that he has been able to bring, and the resources coming from, then he worked 10 years at Cook County. Every time we need something, Chief Tilton's able to pick up the phone and call, because it's those resources, it's working together as a team, it's the Secret Service connections, it's the, working for 4 presidents, and, and he had a great relationship with the county. So every time we have an event, I want to thank county and thank Chief and our whole command staff team. They're able to load the place with all this equipment that we don't own to keep our community and the area safe. So that's kind of what collaboration does. So thank you, Chief, for your 26 years to 4 presidents.
Thank you for the kind words, Mayor. But just to build on what everyone said, we're grateful for the relationship that we have with Chief Rossi, Mayor Picau, and Orland Park. And we're grateful for the relationships we have with the way that we work with our surrounding jurisdictions. What I'll add to this is that what we face, the threats that we face as communities, require multi-jurisdictional resources. They require a number of people that we can gather and we can mass from the surrounding jurisdictions, right? South Suburban Emergency Response Team, one of the very best SWAT teams in the state. 38 communities contribute officers to that team. South Suburban Major Crimes Task Force, the same thing. In order to do what we need to do effectively, we need to maximize the most manpower, the most equipment, the most resources, the most skill. And operating in a multi-jurisdictional way is the best way to do that. And so we're very fortunate to be in an area where we have the kind of conjoined skill and the ability to mass that kind of resources, that response to larger issues, right? With regard to our large public events. What I will say about that and our security preparations is I'm very grateful to the mayor and the village board and our town for the way they support the security features that we need to put in place to make everybody safe. That's a real benefit to us, and it's very gratifying when residents, and a lot of residents have caught me, because I'm not hard to miss, at the events as I walk around, and especially folks from other jurisdictions that maybe live outside this area, and tell me how grateful they are that they feel safe, and how they're coming here to our town or Orland to go to an event where they feel like they're protected. So we want to continue that, and we want to thank all the residents and everybody that supports what we have to do. I'm sorry that we can't do it like we used to do when I was a kid, and everybody would just go to the feds, but we just don't live in that world anymore. And when we're taking 110, 140 knives, different kinds of weapons off people before they come into our event, or we're finding discarded weapons in the parking lots or in the trash cans because they don't want to go through the mags, that tells us we're doing the right thing. And that tells us that if we didn't have those measures in place, that's what our public would be exposed to if we weren't trying to protect them in the way that we are. So for my part, I just want to thank everyone who supports the effort that we put into this and supports the way that we have worked together to try to protect everyone.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Absolutely, Mayor.
I
Go
forgot
ahead.
to piggyback off of what kind of the chief said too. Like with our Rib Fest and our 4th of July and everything. I've also been to the Orland Fest. I've been to New Lenox to see Pat Benatar. Huge fan when I was younger. Still am. Thank you for having her in Orland. And that's the thing too that some people don't understand. You need a collaborative effort of the villages that are around you in order for you to stay safe. It's not just about Tinley Park being safe. Let's say Orland wasn't. If they weren't, it brings those type of people to your area. And the fact that we can count on that Orland Park and Tinley Park together is trying to keep that huge block safe with all the police and with the support of the board, it makes it safer in each community knowing that they could pick up the phone and call each other and they're working each other when they see something, say something. And the fact that 159th, they hit us hard, they started, our boards and our chiefs and our village managers immediately stopped that because they worked together. So if you didn't have towns that worked together and that weren't equally safe, it would be a problem for one town or the other. And, just the fact that, I could go to an Orland Fest or I could go to New Lenox, it's nice to know that you could go to other towns too and feel the same way that you do at home. So that's the best part of everyone having the same thought process and that the residents are number one. So I'm very appreciative to New Lenox and Orland Park that they feel the same way that our boards do. And you can go shop in Orland, Tinley, New Lenox, and feel the same way that you're at home regardless of where you go. So it's a huge benefit for all the towns when everyone does the same thing.
Thank you. Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
and
I have a,
well, I was going to say major events, and I don't know how it is in Tinley, but I know in Orland of recent vintage, we're getting attacked a lot for, oh, well, you lost, this much money on events. First off, we don't run events necessarily to make money, but the other thing is we've added a significant amount of cost to these events by having fencing, by having metal detectors, by having extra security. I mean, it's for, a Taste of Orland event, for example, that was budgeted to lose $100,000 before I even came on the board. We're actually doing better than that now, and we have $50,000 of additional security expenses that we're doing because it's much more important to keep you safe. We're doing these events for the community to have a great time, and they're not money makers. They're never meant to be money makers, and nothing would make it a worse time than to not have it be safe. So we're going to always focus on being safe, and I know Tinley does the same thing. So that's something to keep in mind. And yeah, we don't live in the Orland Park in Tinley of 1970 when you left all the doors open and no one lived near here, right? It's just a different world everywhere, and we just have to keep everybody safe.
so I should have locked my car, that's what you're saying?
Well, did you leave your keys in it? Because that's where like 90% of our car thefts come from, people who leave their keys in it.
I want to be mindful of the time. How many questions do we have via online and thing? Okay. Why don't we, if you don't mind,
Commissioner, if I could just say two things just real quick. I just want to give kudos to the men and women that are out there on the street. They get direction from us, but they're the ones out there that are doing it. So thank you to them. And second, just real quick is don't ever hesitate to call the police. If you feel something's not right and you're not safe, call us. We get calls constantly for a wide variety of things, from a barking dog to people getting murdered. So if you need the police, you don't feel safe, call us. We want to respond. We want to be out there. I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, the worst, what's the worst thing that could happen? There's nothing there, and our police have a good interaction with somebody, and it was no big deal. That's the worst thing that can happen when you call. if you're wrong and there's nothing happening.
All right, so we had questions that came in via email, so why don't we put some of those up and address those? Let's see. What are both police department policies for enforcing DWI, smoking marijuana, and stopping occupants actively smoking marijuana? Chief?
So I can touch base on this. So we were constantly out there enforcing DUIs. We have a grant through the state where we hire extra officers to strictly enforce DUIs during, I would say, overnight hours, right? But you'd be surprised, we get DUIs at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we are out there enforcing it. And like I said, we hire back to have officers strictly enforce DUIs.
Chief Tilton?
Well, I'll just echo what Chief Rossi said. We're basically going about this exactly the same way, so I won't reiterate the whole thing, other than to say that we focus on it very carefully, and we try and do whatever we can to enforce the DUIs and the active smoking.
Yes, okay, so
And
that's,
the other thing is the state is continually trying to eliminate our ability to do this. We had a law pushed last year to not allow us to even stop people for speeding. I know mayors throughout the state went crazy over that. And I mean, it had a chance for a while of actually passing, and it was pretty scary. And the scariest part is the person who wrote that law represents half of Orland Park, and he probably, I don't know, does Slaughter represent part of you?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, so represents Tinley Park and Orland pushing that we can't make any traffic stops for any reason, including smoking marijuana, including any of this, including DUIs. We could not stop someone for a DUI, for someone's weaving all over the place. We wouldn't have been able to stop them. That was ridiculous, and somehow think that's a good idea. So we have to constantly be vigilant to make sure the state doesn't put these restrictions on us, because our officers still have to follow the law.
and Mayor, if I can comment on that, the reason that luckily that was killed this past session was because enough people paid attention and enough people called their state reps and their state senators and just reminded them how bad of an idea that was to think about passing that law. So, paying attention, by the way, when we ask about, paying attention and awareness, pay attention to government. Government has the ability to do things to you that you know nothing about. Pay attention to your government, both locally, state, county, nationally. Okay, next
Well,
question.
I want to
Oh,
add
sorry.
to that.
Go ahead,
Because
go
the
ahead.
Safety Act passed. And I'm going to save Mayor Glotz from going crazy on this one, I think. The Safety Act passed, and I made a lot of calls to state reps, state senators, and I had a state senator that represents both of us, represents the south end of town, so you guys can figure out who it is, who has a father for a mayor in our area as well. And he told me, he said to me, there is no way I will ever vote for this bill. I have children. 8 hours later, he voted for the bill. Frankly, as a mayor, I can't trust him. If he'd have told me he was going to vote for it, told me why, okay, I would disagree with him, maybe vehemently, but you tell me one thing and you do something else, it makes it, what's the point of having a conversation? Because we can disagree on 95% of the things, but I have to know that when you tell me that we agree on something, or what you tell me is true. And if you don't tell me the truth, I can't work with you. It makes it very difficult. So that's even Representative Slaughter, who writes these horrible bills. At least I know where he stands on stuff. He's not telling me one thing and doing something else, because I got to be able to trust that the people I talk to are honest with me.
Yeah, Mayor Glotz, did you?
So piggyback off of what Mayor said, I wasn't going to bring this up, but you kind of opened the door. This was not planned, or we did not discuss this. I had no intentions of mentioning, but in regards to Representative Slaughter, 100% disagree with his philosophy on what they called the Safety Act. I 100% agree with Mayor Picow that at least you know where he stands. That's what makes this country the best. We're all allowed to have a different opinion, whether we agree or not. It doesn't mean ours is right and his is wrong. It means we agree. Our philosophies for where we live, it doesn't work, and I don't agree with it. The problem is when you have a senator, which is Senator Hastings, who just flat out lies to your face and causes all these problems. He was also supporting it from the Senate side. And it's real hypocritical when someone says one thing, but they're part of the problem. This whole Safety Act has been nothing but a debacle for all communities that care about policing and keeping their people safe. In my opinion, it was not meant to keep your community safe. It was to protect the people that want to hurt your community. And we just recently had an incident last night, and it just shows what a waste of time and resources and money for your communities. There was an incident last night at the Orland Chateau where the Orland Township Supervisor was having a caucus for his upcoming election, and they're just trying to, have their caucus, have people come, whether they'll support them or not, so they could put their candidates that they feel they want to represent the Orland Township. I don't agree with their caucus, with those individuals, but it doesn't matter. They're allowed to. I support democracy and people having a chance to have a difference of opinion. But the fact that a state senator shows up to someone's caucus where your parents are there, your grandparents are there, families are there, and he's out there, and Mike Nolan did a story on it this morning. He goes there just to cause chaos and disrupts the whole caucus. I was told that they're trying to lock the doors. They had 4 to 5 police officers, was it? 4 or 5, I think. 4 to 5. 4 to 5 police officers were there as a sitting senator is trying to disrupt someone's right as an American to hold a caucus to represent someone. And so Orland Park had 5 officers that are not out there protecting the community. They're not protecting the mall. They're there with Senator Hastings while he causes chaos with all his friends. He had Bernie O'Boyle, who was mentioned there, who's a Tinley Park District Commissioner, which is also there causing chaos and making negative comments to people that are just, you have a right to vote. You have a right to feel however you want. And then also there was a trustee on the board said that he heard that Ashley Rabina was there, who's also a Tinley Park District Commissioner, and Bob Reed, his daughter. It's sad that these resources from the Orland Park Police Department were taking off the street for someone just to cause trouble. But they're the ones that vote on all these bills and supported this horrible bill in the first place and then lied to the mayor. I didn't talk to him because I know how he felt. So I was not going to touch that subject, but until you open the door.
All right, we're gonna move along from that topic. Next question.
Does it involve him again?
I have no idea. Next email question. Let's see. I get holiday scams all the time. Yes, we do. What can I do to protect myself from these spam calls? Do you share information for what to look out for with these scams? Again, this was an emailed question. Chief Tilton, you want to
I'll
start?
take that.
Sure.
First of all, once again, we have great information for you online at tinleypark.org/crime prevention. It has all the literature and all the details you could ever want that explain to you how to avoid these scams. But one of the things I really want to emphasize, I want to give you things that you can take away and easily remember, right? And then you can go home and download all the paper. But what we want you to remember is the FBI or the IRS or the Tinley Park Police or the Orland Park Police, they're not going to call you up and ask you for money. They're not going to ask you to give your credit card over the phone. And what we want, especially with older people, they can be really aggressive and brusque and almost threatening and intimidate elderly folks into giving up their credit card information or social security number. Or they might even use a ruse where they believe that a relative is in custody or has been hurt and you need to pay the fine, or they're gonna do something to get you to give money to pay a fine to get them out. All of that is not gonna happen. Law enforcement personnel, law enforcement agencies don't operate like that. And we want to make sure that you're confident in some of those facts so that you don't fall victim to it. But there's a lot more information. And one of the things that I really want to emphasize is if you answer the phone and it doesn't sound right, hang up. Nothing is forcing you to talk to these people. We may not be able to stop the calls if you still have an old hardline phone and you're not sure how to use that or how to block that, or you're having difficulty operating your cell phone. You just hang up. If you're uncomfortable or you don't like the tenor of the call or it doesn't sound right to you, don't talk to them long enough to be confused and fall victim to the scam. Just hang up on them. That's my best advice. Chief?
I concur with Chief Tilton. You know, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true, right? We've been told that since we were younger. But again, the scam I think that we see the most is somebody will be calling you saying your nephew or your grandchild's been arrested and they need bond money, right? The first thing to do is reach out to that person because it's a scam, right? You're never going to get a phone call over the telephone. You're never get a call for somebody reaching out for you to get that money. It would be your grandson. But you have to be careful with, you know, all the artificial intelligence these days. So, you know, call your relative and find out if it's true or not. Most likely, it's not true.
Yeah, if I can jump in really quick on that point too. How many people here got the toll authority text message? Anybody get that scam, the toll authority text message scam? That went around, yes. That you have $9, it's only $9, you know, so you'd be surprised how many people didn't know, so they're like, oh, it's only $9, you know, but then they capture your data. But to their point, the police are never calling you, the IRS are never calling you, federal government's not calling you, you know, your lost uncle's not calling you to tell you that they need money or bond money or something. That's probably not it.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say, and it's one of my pet peeves, because, you know, having run for Congress and being in politics, I've made some donations, and now I'm on every list everywhere, and we're probably three of us on here, you know, probably got 7 or 8 calls a day, every day for 3 months. But what really chaps me a lot is, and you know, I'm a vet, and I'm a huge supporter of our police department and our police officers, but when I get for example, the one that calls nonstop is the Illinois State Police PAC, okay? That is not supporting the Illinois State Police officers. That's supporting the union PAC, a political action committee. You are giving a donation to someone who's then going to donate your money to the candidate they choose. Don't give to them. Give to the candidate you want to. Don't give to them. That would be my strong recommendation, is give directly to the candidates that you choose to support, not to, and you know, we're all part of that, and have to deal with that as part of our jobs, and it's probably the worst part of our jobs. But you know, that kind of stuff just drives me, because basically they try and prey on the fact that you support police or you support the vets or whatever, and it's some political action committee that is taking your money and then giving it to candidates, and quite likely it is candidates you don't support. So just, you know, and just ask them, remove me from the list. And if they call you again, then you can report them to the FCC, because they're supposed to remove you from the list. So just say that. If it's a text, say, please stop texting. They should not text you again.
Thank you, Mayor. Next question. What are the key objectives of the crime-free housing programs in each town? Great question. Chief Rossi, we'll start with you.
So we do have the crime-free housing program here in town, and the main objective is that if we have criminals that are committing criminal acts in and around their property, rental property, we don't want them living in our town and causing havoc and committing crimes. So that's one of the objectives. But again, we sit down and we meet with them. If we have somebody that commits an offense, we sit down and we have a conversation. We reach out to legal to make sure we're doing everything proper. We don't just evict people because they commit a crime in Orland Park. We do talk to legal, and we go through the proper procedures to make sure that everything's on the up and up. But the main key is we don't want criminals renting houses or anywhere here in Orland Park and committing crimes and then causing havoc for our residents.
So like Tinley Park, we're members of the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, and at the state level, there have been a number of state bills trying to eliminate the crime-free housing ordinances that we have, which will impact us negatively, but you think of the towns to the east of us, it really impacts them. And the mayors, I don't think there's one mayor that was not vocally in support. That was worse than anything else they were trying to do, was getting rid of the crime-free rental housing and what that would have done to communities. And And why it was so personal to me is they were actually using an Orland Park case to try and make their point. And the interesting thing is they were giving people the Orland Park case and they were saying this person was evicted. Actually, the person was not evicted. What it was it was someone who was identified in the crime-free rental housing, and then we went through the proper process, and eventually they were not evicted. But they didn't bother telling people that portion and what was really disturbing is the group that was behind this was the Realtors Association of all people. Why? Because they don't want to control their realtors and their associations. And I know I have a realtor here, and she's nodding her head. They don't care who they rent to. They don't care about your community. You know, true professionals, like our trustee Katsinas here, they care about their communities. They don't want to see crime-ridden housing. But these fly-by-night people, they don't care. They'll give out codes, let people just come into your units and those types of things. And it got beaten back, but we're going to be facing it again. So if you see anything about that, back to Commissioner Morrison's point, call your rep, call your state senator and say, we want crime-free rental housing. And because it helps keep our neighborhoods safe.
Yeah, thank you. I completely agree. Our staff, Doug Alba, who does our crime-free housing, our police, and our manager's office, Pat and Hannah, have worked really hard to build up a great crime-free housing. When there's problems, we've gone to them. We have unfortunately, corporations have been buying big blocks of homes. We had a problem with one. We actually sat down with their attorney, and they were great. And they evicted the person that was in there and replaced it. And better be careful. The new people that they brought in, we haven't had one problem with them since. So crime-free housing's there for a reason. Unfortunately, I won't say the name again, but the same senator and the House rep, Bob Rita, they support that stuff, removing that crime-free housing, just like they supported that Safety Act. It really hurts communities if the legislators remove the crime-free housing from our communities, because that's the only way our police can keep us safe with renters.
Chief, any last words on it?
Well, I'll just say this about the crime-free housing. Mayor Glotz makes a really good point. And the point is, this is another tool that we can use to help keep our residents safe. We had as the mayor was referring to, we had a whole neighborhood, a whole street of residents come to a board meeting and explain how they were being terrorized over the course of several months by some renters that were doing all kinds of things that were difficult for us to police in that area, right? And fortunately, we were able to make some arrests there because they were doing the things the residents alleged. And we were able to hold the rental company accountable for the volume renting they do. In other words, they rent to people without any sort of background or financial check. They get evicted immediately thereafter, within 30 days, and they've got another one in, which basically repeats the pattern. And the residents of this street were terrified to come out of their houses. So this is a tool that this is another tool that we can use to put the lid on some of that activity and help our residents feel safer.
And I will add, we just passed an ordinance regarding the adjustments to our rental housing policies. And our staff, it's actually the best work I've ever seen our staff do as far as the research that they did. And they found, they did a lot of research, a lot of the data, and they also found things that would be upheld in a court of law as far as what we could restrict. And so what we did is we restrict the number of rental units to 10% in a given census block. And that's something that we can do, number one. And number two, we also restricted the number of properties that one manager can be responsible for, because we do have the similar problem with, and I think it's everywhere, where corporations are buying sight unseen and they don't care. They don't care about your community. We have two of those places. I think the most of anyone owns is what was like 26 or something like that. And we've had some problems. And so now a single manager can no longer have more than 8, I believe. And then also any showings, they have to be there in person. They cannot give someone a code to get in, because once they give one person a code, then everybody gets that code, and then you have criminals coming in there and ripping off fixtures and all that kind of stuff. So those things are things that legally we could put in place, we did put in place. It was something that we did 6 or 7 months of research. We just passed within the last month. It goes into effect January 1st. So that's something that we've done to help keep that the rental housing controlled.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other question? We have one more question on the line. How is AI being implemented into our local public safety, and can we trust it? It's a great question. Chief Tilton, you want to start with that?
Well, right now, as far from our perspective, what we use on a daily basis, it's mainly an analytical tool that helps us with video integration and analyzing video. That's the predominant use that we make of it. I don't want, as far as can we trust it, we're not asking it to do anything that is so complex that might cause us to doubt the veracity of the product that we're getting. Eventually, I think that's going to be an issue, but as long as we work with our technical people and our IT personnel, we've got to decide how much of that we want to input and how much of it we're going to use. Right now, predominantly, I would say almost exclusively, you're having a real person make decisions about what they're seeing with their technology. So for those that are afraid of the AI revolution, it hasn't impacted us to that point that you need to worry about it yet.
Chief, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say, like Chief Tilton said, there's not much being implemented with AI. It is developing day in and day out. I do know that our body cams through Axon, they are using AI, which is a great feature. If you have someone that speaks a foreign language, it has the capability of them speaking to the officer. It translates that conversation on the body camera into English for the officer. The officer can then relay a message back to the body camera, and it relays that information in the foreign language back to the person, whoever the complainant was. So they're constantly developing AI, but we don't use facial recognition. It's very minimal. The AI right now, we don't use it to write reports, but it is out there, but it's not being implemented, I would say, so much today, but I imagine in the future, we're going to see more and more of it.
Thank you. All right, that's our last one from email. Okay, in the room, is there anyone that has a question that they'd like to ask? Feel free. Don't be shy. Yep, right here.
Thank you. It's been widely reported that most law enforcement organizations around the country are short of personnel, from three-letter organizations in DC down to the local level. I don't know what it is in Orland. I think Tinley, like many of them, are understaffed, and you hear about it every day and all across the country. I know that COVID and the defund the police movement and now the number of police being shot affects recruitment, but locally, what are you doing specifically to bring the personnel quotas up to the allotted quota?
Well, I can answer for Orland. I think we're full. We're not seeing, we're short one right now, which is relatively normal for us because it's just, people retire, people, change jobs, that type of thing. I think we are a little more aggressive with our lateral hires. People want to work here, and so that helps us a lot, but there's no question there's a shortage in the region, and there's a shortage in the state, and there's in the Chicago area. But we're getting, so we look at lateral hires. We're not getting as many people test, but we're still getting a lot of high quality recruits, and we're in very good shape as far as Orland specifically, but it is something we're constantly looking at. One of the things we did is we start looking at laterals. We're also looking at training our CSOs in-house and getting them training programs directly to become police officers. I mean, Chief Rossi was a CSO. No, not a CSO? Caddy. But you started very young here with the department, and but we're looking at training our CSOs, working them to be part-time officers, then to become officers and that type of thing, to keep them in-house so they're not going somewhere else. So we're looking at all of those types of tools that really businesses look at everywhere, but maybe in the past they didn't have to in policing, now they do. because we're seeing that shortage. So, but right now, at Orland Park, I think we feel like we're in a very good spot. But that is definitely not true for the region. What you say is definitely true regionally.
If I could, real quick, Mayor, if you don't mind. So I could tell you, I attended the FBI National Academy 2 years ago, and I could tell you that everyone I talk to throughout the United States is we're going through the same problem. Everybody has problems recruiting police officers. When I started here and you took a test, there were 300 people trying to get one job. Officers stayed for 30 years. Now, you're getting 30 people that may take that test, and officers are staying for 20 years. So there's more openings constantly. So you have to think outside the box, right? Orland Park we never had lateral transfers through my entire career. We had to start doing it. They're not there. You may get one for every 30 people that apply. We're not going to lower our standards and take an officer who was fired from another department and hire him. We do our due diligence. We do background checks. Like the mayor said, we are one short, which I think is not bad in today's day and age. Thinking outside the box, we developed a program a few years ago where we are taking our community service officer detention aides and we're sponsoring them to go to a part-time academy where they get certified. And then once they get certified, they get hired to go through a 2-week bridge course and we get them through a field training program. So that's helping. That's something that we're looking to do more often. We take them, they go through the part-time academy. They're able to apply to be on our lateral list. We're able to take them off our lateral list. Prior to that, they'd have to wait for a test to come around. We used to test every 2 years. Now we're testing every single year. And that's nationwide. I could say, I don't even know what the staffing is with Tinley, but I could tell you, I know they're probably testing every year, and they used to probably test every 2 years. They're getting the same number of candidates because the people the men and women that are on Tinley's list are on Orland's list, and they're on Frankfurt's list, and they're on New Lenox's list, and we're all stealing from each other, and it's terrible. It's terrible. But we need to think outside the box. And I think it's just society today that they fund a police movement, that's what's occurring. And it's, like I said, it's nationwide. It's not just a Chicagoland, but I think Chicagoland area, it's even worse.
Unfortunately, Chief Rossi, you answered it like you work for Tinley. It's the exact same problem. Since 2019, we've authorized an additional 18 police officers. And the problem is, it's not like it was 10 years ago where you have so many candidates, it takes forever to go through them all, hire them. They're just not applying anymore. Both departments pay a lot of money compared to other towns, and that's why they come here. And when they come to Tinley and Orland, they don't leave, they stay here. It's a great place to work, it's a safe place to work, and they have, most importantly, they've always had support from their chiefs and the village staff and the boards.
And the community.
Yep. And the biggest problem when this Safety Act was passed, it was sad. We had actually some police officers that retired and they found new careers because they were afraid that they would lose everything if they did their job and someone sued them and they lost their house. They had young kids, and it was sad to see a police officer that spent his, as a teenager, can't wait to be a police officer. He finally did it, worked 15 years, and then has to retire because he's afraid he's going to lose everything that he has doing his job to protect his community. And officers are scared now to do their job because of this so-called Safety Act. So we have the exact same problems as Chief Rossi said. We're testing constantly because the numbers aren't there. People don't want to be police officers anymore, and that's sad.
Thank you. Chief, any final thoughts?
I'll just add that the numbers, if you contemplate the numbers, they can be depressing, right? We could get 3 of 65. The year prior to this, we got 3 of 65. And that's after they take the test and go through the whole process and again, go through the background. This year we had, we had 40 take the test, 14 actually, we had 40 show up to the orientation, 14 showed up to take the test, and 10 actually were certified to go through the background. And I'm hoping that I'll get 3 of those. I'm being told we're going to get 4, so that's even better. That shows you the difficulty. But here's something I want to leave you with that I think is positive. The most important thing that we're doing here with how we seek police officers is the emphasis on quality. We haven't lowered the standards, and we're not gonna. We haven't made this so that it takes the right person to be a police officer, and they have to have the right mentality, and they have to have the right desire, and they have to be the person that we want to protect you and be out in our community. It's a great responsibility. So while it's hard to find people that fit in that niche right now, right? And we're lucky that of the people that we're getting, we're finding those diamonds in the rough, right? And then, as Chief Rossi said, they're on Orland's list, they're on our list, they're on everybody's list, and we have to hope that some way we do it. But I want everyone to understand that we'll go with lower numbers as long as they're the right people. They have to be the right people to protect us. So I hope that's comforting.
Well, the hour is now 8:29. Is there any other questions? Does anybody have one that they'd like to ask? We could maybe do one more if there is. Right here, we'll do one more. Hold on, I should bring a mic, so.
Oh, I'm pretty loud, actually. Okay.
I could hear you.
Yeah, we need the video to catch you, though.
Okay. This is for Mayor of Tinley Park. You mentioned the Helipad. Is that for police or EMTs? And where is it? And what region are you talking about that it's going to cover?
That's the helipad, and our U.S. Air Force village manager guy can give you all the details on that. Pat, can you give the microphone to Pat so he could explain?
Yes, thank you. Actually, this helipad has been in operation for close to 25 years already in the village of Tinley Park. And what we're adding is a fuel station and in-ground lighting. And we currently operate with the Cook County and Chicago Police helicopter that is usually out in our area weekly. So that and then EMS. So we'll have fuel for EMS helicopters if they need it, that it'll be there. So it'll be in the region for the south suburbs. So, it's right next to the police department.
In Orland?
No, in Tinley Park. Yep.
And what regions? Like Oak Forest to us?
Yeah, right in Orland Park, Oak Forest, Frankfurt, Mokina. Yep,
Like that far?
yep.
It's about 7800 West 183rd Street, right in that area.
But I'm wondering communities, like how far?
Yeah, I think the best way to think of that is it's like a regional public safety pad.
Yeah.
So God forbid you're in an accident in New Lenox. Maybe I'm making this all up. Maybe the chopper picks you up there, brings you to a local hospital. If
There's
a
not
pad.
really a cutoff of where it's
No,
going to go.
there's not a cutoff.
It's who's
It's a-
closest.
it's an
who
asset.
needs it and where it's closest to help. Who's closest to help. They're not going to say, oh, well, you're past 355, so we're not going to go there, even though no one can get there for 2 hours. They're going to go to wherever.
Someone's got to fund this.
Well, like Pat Carr said, it's going to be funded by, so there's the Chicago Police, there's the Cook County, they have their helicopters, so, and then there's state, so.
Yeah, the helipad was funded partially by a grant to improve it. And all of the other helicopters are all self-funded. They're not funded by Orland Park.
All right. With that being the case, then I think we will end for this evening. I'll just say thank you all again for coming out. If there are questions that you have further, you can certainly send them into the village or both of the police departments via websites. There are public comment sections on there for that as well. Information for my office for county services is on those cards that you have. Feel free to take one of those. And I will remind you that there are refreshments out in the hallway there, and stop by and shake a hand and say hello. Mayors?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, mayors, and thank you, chiefs.
Thank you, Sean. You did a great job.